All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Symphogear, Season 4, Episode 7. The Faust robes are on, and the characters are maybe talking, so could it possibly be that before they start, kicking ass, they'll talk and be like, hey, maybe we don't actually have to fight?
Yeah,
like,
they
we could be
share
friends?
said ass, Yeah.
I wouldn't have necessarily phrased it
See,
that way,
the
but...
moon has the lunar ruins, and when you show your ass, you are mooning somebody, therefore they share the moon.
I thought you were going to go through some element of, like, they, I don't know, did something to Fine's ass or something like that. I don't know.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
No,
the setup here, though, is that the lunar ruins are that which probably holds some key to that which they can break the curse of Balal and bring about the saving of humanity, and they will all be free and all that. And yet, no, they can't do that with Symphogear users because of probably the way they're going to use it. But we still have to get into that.
Lore stuff and world building and power mechanics with music and stuff is complicated. But right now, if they do fight, we will have a situation that I don't think we've actually run into before in the show ever. In that we have the bad guys using a power-up that we haven't truly faced, and know what the capabilities of it are, right? We saw it a little bit. And then we have the protagonists who also got a power-up. And it's not just that they have a thing to beat the thing that makes it so that their Ignite module doesn't work. It's that they have a source of Blinker now, so now the full party is actually able to fight for the full fight at their full strength, and it's going to be awesome.
When the bad guys are using a power-up as well.
Right. So, okay.
So all these variables coming to clash together.
That's right.
Will just a wild naked man show up and ruin it all, though? We'll find out.
That's true.
So
That's
y'all,
a fair point.
Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We got ourselves a good old two-step episode of sorts with regards to the fight. We got the alchemists wanting to talk a little bit, but also
not really, like
losing because they got too involved with the talking side of things.
Yeah,
Saint-Germain's
that's
philosophy was beaten in some ways by Hibiki's just simple logic.
Right, she doesn't actually have an answer for it. It's like, well, what about the people that you're sacrificing?
It's not a sacrifice.
It's
because I don't consider them as people because they're just going to be building blocks.
Right.
Oh, but what about the people that you consider to be perfect? And then it's well,
yeah. Would you apply that reasoning to them? And if you wouldn't, then maybe what you're doing is fucked up. Yeah, maybe you're actually just depressing. Yeah. So here we go. And I like that the reason that Hibiki's logic doesn't reach the antagonist is not because the antagonist is not like seeing. Well, no, they're kind of she's not seeing reason, but it's because she's so involved in the situation, right? It's not like she's just throwing out platitudes of like, that's not how it is. It actually gets under her skin to the point where she leaves because she kind of realizes, even if she won't admit to herself, that Hibiki's right.
Yeah.
And then she gets the concrete evidence of
Hibiki was right.
Hibiki was absolutely right, because when you're presented with something that by your logic shouldn't be a problem, I get the feeling it is. So,
because the friends you made along the way were more important than the super world building, change the world for everybody else goal.
Yep.
So are you really doing this out of a desire to keep others from being oppressed? Because if you are, wonderful. Keep going with what you're doing. Sacrifice one. Don't sacrifice them.
Right.
Turn them into a building block for your revolution.
Exactly.
Because in
build
some ways,
that cobblestone road.
Yeah, build that cobblestone road, Griffith, because you're going to have a castle. And to be fair, you might be the kind of person that you don't care whether or not you're the one that owns that castle.
Sure.
You might be the kind of person that's so good and so giving that you would relinquish this castle and give it to humanity.
In fact, if you want to make sure that people won't be oppressed, make sure that every human on Earth, including you and your friends, are sacrificed as building blocks, and then there can be this nice castle with no one to live in it.
Yep.
And it'll be wonderful, right? And no one will ever get oppressed.
No,
there you go.
And also, you've again probably got plans for this, but you haven't told us how this is going to work. If you're basically like, we're going to go fight God, right? We're going to go fight the established order of things here. You think that the established order or God or whatever is going to just roll over and let that happen? I think that if there is any kind of godlike entity, being, or system or what have you in place in this world, it's gonna get really pissed off when you actually do some real damage to it.
It might be, and also, this is one of the other things that I legit kind of love about this is that our main girls are really, really, really fucking strong.
They're really
so they do this thing. You can't use Ignite module. Okay. 2 of us still beat your asses with the Faust robes and everything.
Because we can just sing together because we love each other.
Because we love each other and we're really good at what we do. Okay, cool. And by the way, they aren't necessarily the strongest of the group because there's still a Hibiki.
I mean, okay, but
so
let's be real here.
I mean, okay, Shirabe and Kirika are cream of the crop, top of the top.
I'm also just going out there and saying like Kirika is just best girl in that.
Well,
respect.
Kirika or Shirabe?
Sorry.
I would say yeah, Shirabe, absolutely.
Shirabe is best girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
And but given that they're having this struggle, right? Okay, that's fine. But I'm waiting for them to realize we're wanting to defeat God. We're having trouble with these humans, with the Symphogear that we disdain, and we don't necessarily know if there's a particular emotional reason rather than logical reason of why they have disdain for Symphogear, which there totally could be, right? Because it was a creation of Fine or something like that.
Well, I think it's a combination of the idea that they're tapping into the elements of the curse to basically restrain, and they're basically the top of the food chain of humans within this cursed domain.
Sure.
And they're like, well, don't you realize how much you've limited yourselves by stopping at that spot, and basically are not like us where you're seeking the truth? And it's like, cool.
Okay.
What's the truth then? No, we can't tell you guys that because you'd abuse it or something. I don't know.
Right. Like, but just the idea that them having these struggles with fighting, right? And they're saying they're going to fight God. Even if you don't like the Symphogear users,
right?
You might want some extra allies, soldiers for your army, whatever.
See, this is my thought, is that they are fully of the belief that they are on the side of the Symphogear users. Maybe.
Okay.
But it's the thing of where they're like, because this is kind of a bit of metagaming here, because there's 5 seasons, the next season is going to be the aftermath of the Symphogear users having to deal with the fact that the Bavarian Illuminati poked at God and it worked. So whatever they do is going to work. Then the Symphogear users are going to have to actually fight God, and that's season 5.
Okay, I can see that. That or they end up reconciling to the point where they team up, and then it's season 5 will be us working to try and break this curse,
and
fight
handhold
God,
everyone. I think that it is a more likely thing that we have hand-holded our last antagonist, basically, with Elf 9. And that we have too many characters at this point.
Sure.
And it would be, in some ways, the ultimate, like...
Adam is certainly not going
escalation.
to get handheld.
Yeah, Adam is not getting handheld. Tiki, maybe.
Maybe, but maybe not.
But maybe not.
The real important question and conundrum is what happens if God turns out to be a cute anime girl? Do you handhold God, and how does that work, right? If it just turns out that she's some high school girl named Haruhi Suzumiya, what do you do, right? Like, how do you defeat that?
God is going to be an inverted infinite cube. That's basically what my thought is going to be.
I definitely am feeling the vibe that it's going to be some sort of anti-spiral type situation.
It's going to be a system with personality, but much more system and anti-spiral race than actually an individual figure.
I think the geometric shape thing is important because if it doesn't have hands, it can't be handheld.
Right.
It's a very straightforward kind of like conundrum, right?
In some ways, the noise I feel like are the hint as to what the system is going to be.
Sure.
But the noise are just the revealing maybe a little bit more of what the curse of Balal has brought about humanity too. That they're just a bunch of chaotic noise bouncing together in this dimension without any beauty or rhyme to it, and only through the power of love and friendship and hand-holding can we find a voice that can sing through the chaos and then break through to resound, hibiki, within the realm of the gods, and then we will set ourselves free.
That does
by the
sound
power of friendship.
That does sound like it would be pretty awesome.
Girls.
I gotta say though, we also got something this episode that I have been always saying that I wanted more of in Symphogear.
More Miku.
Well, yes, I mean definitely. Miku
wrong.
especially. No, Miku is a specific example of what we need more of. But basically, of the characters being introspective and thinking about things and talking with each other and all that stuff.
Whoa.
Miku was the best example of it, I would say, this episode. But we did get some good stuff with Kirika and Shirabe. We got some good stuff with Chris, just thinking about like, oh shit, my sort of hot-headed, like, you know, gung-ho attitude has had some consequences. Some that I feel like I should be okay with, but it's still hard. And others where I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't have to just blow up that whole facility underwater, you know. So more of that stuff. I love it. Awesome. Keep it coming. It did feel like it was kind of pushed aside sometimes to be like, okay, but now let's get back to like the action and the exposition. But yeah, glad it happened.
All right, and now let's have a little bit of infighting in the Bavarian Illuminati.
Indeed, I'm very, very excited to see what happens there because, like,
we've reemphasized that the two what are their names, Prelati and Cagliostro, are loyal to Saint Germain more than the Bavarian Illuminati.
Exactly, and
but
we got
loyal to them more than the goal and the dream. So
yeah, because if you're not doing it for like, if you're trying to keep people from being oppressed, but it's you need people in order to have that kind of philosophy, right? So like, you know, who is it for, you know? But yeah, and I would love to see more of their backstory together getting explored because we got a hint of it. I'd like to see that in detail because I feel like it's about to be part of the main conflict.
Yeah, I feel like we're in this wishy-washy area with Saint Germain that I'm very kind of disappointed in because I feel like Saint Germain could be a far more interesting character, and all it would take is for her to clarify with not us, I mean not with the protagonist, but in some ways
with
to
the
herself
audience maybe,
and the audience a little bit of when she says no one should be oppressed. Is this a thing of where she's going to create a world of people that cannot be oppressed? Meaning like they're going to be so powerful, they're going to be so reunited with their lost selves of what have you within their blessed state or what have you beyond the curse that they cannot be oppressed because they'll be like mini gods all themselves. Okay, that's one version. That very seems kind of Ubermensch-esque adjacent. Then you have the other version, basically, which is I am going to destroy the oppressors.
Right.
Which then basically says, I don't care necessarily what it takes. Eventually, there will be people that won't be oppressed because they won't have oppressors capable of doing that.
Right, and I
but
guess
then it ignores the fact that if you give that remaining top of the, you know, food chain power status to themselves, humans will oppress themselves
and even
just fine without
that's
your
what people do.
That's what people do.
And even if you don't have that kind of foresight, which I like the idea of her being like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and even if it means killing a bunch of people and stuff, I believe it's worth it. So you're not going to stop me by talking about that. But the fact that she does see herself as being so in the right, as opposed to like, I'm going to do this horrible thing, and I know it's horrible, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think in the end it'll be worth it. That's curious to me because, again, this is people that have been around for hundreds of years. So, you know, she hasn't really thought about this. And if we end up as a result of these developments at the end and Hibiki's, you know, talk with her and all that, getting a point where she has some dark night of the soul where she has to look inward and be like, oh shit, do I really actually believe my own ideals, you know?
Yeah, in some level it's more human for her to not be as certain as some of the past villains were, but I think the reason why their certainty was not necessarily always a negative thing, see the season 2 antagonists that were certain, you had a little bit of a contradiction built into how their certainty couldn't go all the way, and that was because they were on some level not thinking about themselves. And Saint Germain, I don't know where her selfishness ends and her selflessness begins.
Yeah, like
and we're probably just about to find out. I think it's just that we've been waiting on that, and now this conundrum that Adam has put her in is okay. Now you have to decide.
I feel like this conundrum is where we'll start to actually understand who Saint-Germain is.
I just am worried that within like a few episodes from this, she's just going to be dead.
No, right. Or
it won't matter.
Not a villain anymore or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think and we've talked about this quite a bit, but the strongest point of season 2 was, we saw the antagonists as protagonists of their own story, but I think the reason that was able to work is because we got a lot of screen time with them didn't involve the fights, that didn't involve the protagonists, right?
Yep.
As a result of that, we got a better understanding of who they are. Whereas with Saint-Germain and the other two, same as with Carol and the auto scorers in season 3, we don't really get that. So like this choice, I actually have no clue what she's going to pick.
Same,
because I don't know what kind of person she is.
Yep.
You know? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. So you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.